service. I'll get the guitar. So
Did you know that street-side momos are filled with MSG, a chemical which keeps you eating more and more? Plus, they're made with refined wheat flour, maida, which sticks to our gut, rots there, and often creates disease. But worry not. Our chefs have developed homemade rainbow momos made with whole wheat flour.
Brenda, your audio is on.
Beetroot, spinach, carrot, and pumpkin. For the filling, mix all these.
I just muted everybody. Sounds like someone was giving cooking lessons. Okay, so right. Okay, everybody. Here we go. We'll pick a nice song for tonight. Lots of Eparo Karunako Vaishnava Gosa Patita Pavana Noma Pineke Okay. Eparo Karuna Goro Vaishnava Gosai Patita Bhavana Toma Vine Onai Yaharani Gatigile Mapadore Yarai Hemono to Yalla Bravo Kipako Goodbye Yahara Kate Mapadore Yarai Hey Mona Doyala Bravo Kemako Tapai Arabarasa Baschate Malvan Dashane Pavitra Koro Itoma Raka Nankara Parasha Boile Baschate Malvan Dashane Pavitra Koro Itoma Raka Aristan Aparade Tare Thomas Apparade Naipa Ritra Alistan Apparade Hare Arinan Thomas Tane Apparade Naipa Ritra Tomara Toy Sada Govinda Vishra Govinda Govinda Mora Vaishnava Pura Pratijan me Korea Sha Charanera Tu Narotama Koro Doya Apanara Mule Evaro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Kotsadai Evaro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Haribo Haribo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvacharya All Stutela Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Savaya Jalananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Macharam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Chanamali Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvadi Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deyatarani. So, we are going to read the translation. O Vaishnava Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Where does anyone find such a merciful personality by whose audience all sins go far away? One becomes purified after bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times, but just the sight of you purifies the fallen souls. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who is offended, Lord Hari. But if one offends you, there is no means of deliverance. Your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda, and Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. I desire the dust of your holy feet in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottama yours, and be kind upon him. Narottama Das Thakur Ki Jai. So now we are going to continue with our study of the Caitanya Bhagavat. Haribol. So, just to reiterate what we've heard about before. So, Om Ganat Timiranda Shah, Gananjana Shlake Ajakshu, and Meditam Yena Tasmai, Shikaveda Maha. Offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual masters, Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. All right. So we're ready to go. So let me share the screen and then I'll just reiterate what we've been reading for the last few days. Okay. Let's find that window. Here it is. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Put that there. Right. Okay. So let's reiterate. So what happened previously in this chapter is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's brother to Vishwarup, who is none different from Lord Nityananda Balaram, took sannyas. Why did he take sannyas? Because he heard his parents talking about his marriage and he thought, no, I'm not going to get entangled in this world. Let me get out of here as quickly as possible. So he took sannyas and left. Rather than disobeying his parents at home, he disobeyed his parents by taking sannyas and leaving. That's a standard thing that people do. It's escape, fight or flight. And sometimes in Vedic culture, people do the flight thing. So he took sannyas. Parents upset. Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra completely upset. Jagannath Mishra comes to a plan to keep Lord Chaitanya from having the same issue of taking sannyas. He says, look, Vishwarup took sannyas because he got educated. He learned about this material world. Better we don't teach someone about this material world, or else there's the danger that little Nimai may take sannyas. And we don't want Nimai to take sannyas. He's our only son. Really, you don't want your only son to take sannyas because your only son is your old age insurance. Your only son is your only enjoyment to enjoy little grandkiddies. So, then anyway, they were attached to Nimai. It wasn't a material attachment. They were attached, their spiritual attachment. So they decided, or at least Jagannath Mishra decided, better to stop the education, let him be illiterate, and Krishna will take care of him. And basically, Shachimata said, well, who's going to marry him if he's illiterate? And Jagannath Mishra said, Krishna will arrange, basically. Krishna arranges for everybody, which is true. I mean, Krishna arranges, the animals get married too. So, and then Krishna will arrange the maintenance, so don't worry about it. So, therefore, the strategy was to not allow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, little Nimai, to get married, and the strategy to accomplish that was to keep him dumb, uneducated. Of course, he was already pretty educated. So we'll see what happens at that particular juncture. So, so anyway, it was a very Krishna-conscious explanation on the part of Jagannath Mishra that, Krishna will take care of. He's meant to have a wife, he'll have a wife, whether he's educated or not. If he's meant to be respected, he'll be respected, whether he's educated or not. So, these are Krishna-conscious explanations, but I don't know how appropriate they are. They're just taken out of context. So, let's continue reading from text 135. Ataiva vidya harinara naikare poshana. Krishna says about akare poshana palana. Therefore, qualities like good education cannot maintain one. Only Krishna maintains one, which is true. Anayasena maranam vinadanyena jivanam anaradito govinda charanasya katam bhavet. From one who has never worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, how is it possible for him to live in comfort and die in peace? So in other words, Govinda will take care of him. Don't worry. Let him be a nice grahasta. Anayase marana jivana dainya vinne Krishna sevile sehaya nahi vidya dhane. If one wants to live without poverty and die peacefully, then he should serve Krishna. Education and wealth will not help. The word nahi means not possible. Krishna kripa bine nahe dukera mochana takilava vidyakula koti koti dana. One's distress can never be mitigated without the mercy of Krishna, even if one is endowed with high education, good birth, and great wealth. Actually true, but contextually, it's not a good idea. Yara grihe achihi utama upaboga tare Krishna dhyachena kona maharoga. One may have luxurious items for enjoyment in his house, yet by the arrangement of the Lord he may be suffering from disease. The word upaboga means the best means of enjoyment. Upaboga. Kichu vilasite nare duke puti mare yaranahi tahaite duki bale tare. Such a person cannot enjoy a thing and thus burns in misery. I consider him more miserable than one who does not possess anything. The word vilasite means to freely enjoy. Eteka janiha takileo kicho naya yare yena Krishna ya say such a hoya. Know for certain that one may possess great opulence, but unless Krishna permits, he cannot enjoy it. That's actually a fact. The real enjoyment is the loving exchange with Krishna. Eteke na karachinta putra prati tume Krishna pushivena putra kahilana hami. Therefore, do not worry about your son. I assure you that Krishna will maintain him. So it's interesting. He addresses Lord Chaitanya as Satyabhama's son rather than our son. Interesting. Why did he do such a thing? You have to think about it. Yavat sharire prana atiye amara tavatileka dukana hika udara. As long as I live, I will not allow him to suffer the least. Amasavara Krishna achina rakshita kivachinta tumiyara mata patipata. We have Lord Krishna as our protector, and you are a good mother and chaste wife, so why should you worry? Pariya nahi kakarya balilun tumare mukahai putramora rahumatra gare. Therefore, I say that he does not need to study further. Let him stay at home uneducated. Phew. Etabali putre re dakila mishrabara mishrabole shuna bapa amara utara. Saying this, Jagannath Mishra called his son and told him, listen, my dear son, ajihate arapata nahika tamara ihate anyatakara shapata amara. From today on, I want you to give up your studies. I forbid you to continue. Ye tamara icha vapatai diva ami grahe vasi paramamangale taka to me. My dear son, I give you whatever you desire. I'll give you whatever you desire. Stay comfortably at home. Wow, it's not very functional. Etavali Mishra Chalelena Karyantara Paritena Payara Prabhu Vishwambara. Saying this, Jagannath Mishra went to attend his duties, and Lord Vishwambara refrained from further studies. Such an obedient servant, even though he loved to study. Nitya Dharma Sanatana Shri Gauranga Raya Nalange Janaka Vakya Padite Nayaya. The personification of eternal religious principles, Sri Gauranga Rai, followed his father's instructions and gave up his studies. Antare Dukkita Prabhu Vijayarasa Bange Punapurabu Udathaila Shishu Sange. The Lord was disappointed to give up his scholastic pursuits, so he again began his childhood mischief. You're going to hear what he did. Almighty God. It's amazing. He's the most mischievous kid I've ever heard of. Kiba nijagare prabhu, kiba para gare, yaha paya taha bange, apachaya kare. Whether in his own house or another's house, the Lord would break and ruin whatever he got his hands on. Nishahaile Prabhu na, Aise Gare Sarva Ratri, Shishu Sange Nana Krida Kare. He would not even return home at night. Rather, he would continue playing all night with the other boys. Wow. Sounds like what happens at the university. Kambale Dakyanga, Lui Shishu Meri, Rishapraya Hayag Chalena Kutu Hale. The Lord and another boy covered themselves with a blanket and played as a bull. This is getting very funny. Yarabari Kalavana Teki Take Tine Rachi Haile Vrisharupe Bangaye Apane. If they saw banana trees at someone's house during the day, at night the Lord and his friend, disguised as a bull, would destroy them. That's a juvenile delinquent. Garu Jnane Grahasta Karye Haya Haya Jagile Grahasta Shishu Sanghati Pralaya. Thinking that a bull was destroying his bananas, the householder would cry out in lamentation. As he came out from his house, the boys ran away. Karugare Dwaradiya Bandiye Bahire Lagvi Gurvi Grahasta Karite Nahi Pare. The Lord would lock the door of someone's house from outside, and the householder would be unable to come out for passing urine or stool. The phrase Dwaradiya Bandiye Bahire indicates that the doors could be locked from outside. The word Lagvi means to pass urine, and Gurvi means to pass stool. So at that time, of course, they had the bathrooms were outside. Prabhupada said that's actually much more cultured to have a bathroom outside the house rather than a toilet inside the house. And that's, that was the culture at that time. Of course, in the cold weather, it really doesn't work too well. Although I lived for like 15 years like that. I lived in the forest for 15 years in the beginning of New Goloka. And my bathroom was outside and everything was much cleaner. So anyway, you can imagine what it was. So someone really had the call of nature, as they say. And then all of a sudden, they go to their door to open it up and get out. I was really mischievous. It's such an amazing story. It's such an amazing, mischievous trick. I would like to see it. I probably would like to do that to someone. But K Bandila Duyara Kariye Haya Haya Jagale Grahasta Prabhu Utiya Palaya. When the householder cried out, "Who has locked my door?" the Lord ran away. Because he probably ran away and just watched the fun from the bushes or something like that. That's my Guess. Ematadina Ratri Tridashera Raya Shishugana Sange Krida Karena Sarva Daya. In this way, Tri Dasha Rai played continually day and night with his friends. Sounds fun. I would like to be there doing those things with Vishwambara Nimai. Yateka Chapalya Kare Prabhu Vishwambara Tatapyo Mishra Kichu Na Kare Uttara. In spite of all Vishwambara's mischievous activities, Jagannath Mishra did not say a thing. Because he just didn't want to take sannyas. Ekadina Mishra Chalilena Karyantara Patitena Paya Prabhu Krohita Antara. One day, after Jagannath Mishra went for his duties, the Lord became very angry because he was not allowed to study. Actually, you see, what is it, fight or flight? So, Visvarup, he took the flighting strategy. He just ran away. And Vishwambara, they both didn't want to disobey their parents. But then Vishwambara, Lord Nimai, he took the fighting strategy. He just so angry. I'm going to teach them a lesson. They won't let me do what I want to do. It's like a fit. He then sat down on the old rejected pots that had been used for preparing offerings for Lord Vishnu. The word Varja means rejected or abandoned. The word Handi is the corruption of the Sanskrit word Handi, basically the same thing, which is a pot for cooking rice. So try to understand, in those days, they would just use the pots once. And of course, these were clay pots. You know, it wasn't some like stainless steel pot or something like that. These were clay pots, and they could easily make another clay pot or get another clay pot. You know, it was basically clay is free. So that was, didn't have to worry about washing pots. I mean, actually, pretty good idea. Ebara niguda kata shuna ikamane Krishna bhakti siddhi haya ihara shavane. This topic is most confidential. Whoever hears it will attain devotional service to Lord Krishna. So listen carefully, because you want to attain devotional service to Lord Krishna. Varjahandi Ganasava Kari Singhasana Tativasi Hase Gora Sundaravadana. Using those rejected pots as a Singhasana. Lord Guru Sundar smiled as he sat there. So I guess there's like a big pile of pots, you know, where they would throw the old pots. And he just sat on them. Lagila handira kali sarvagorange kanaka putale yena lipiache gande. The black soot from those pots decorated Gaura's limbs, and he appeared like a golden doll, smeared with sandalwood pulp mixed with agaru. The golden body of Nimai, smeared with the black soot from the clay cooking pots, looked like someone had smeared black agaru and sandalwood paste on the limbs of a golden doll. Shishugana Janaila Gira Shachistane Nimai Vasiyache Handira Asane. His friends went and informed Mother Shachi. Nimai is sitting on the rejected pots. Maye Asi Dekia Karina Haya Haya Eistane Tebapa Basibare Na Yuyaya. When Mother Shachi went there and saw Nimai in that condition, she lamented and said, "My dear son, this is not a proper place to sit." Varjahandi iha saba parashile snana etadine tumara ena janmile yana. These are rejected pots, and if one touches them, he must take a bath. Haven't you understood this by now? The word parashile means if one touches, and the word yana refers to the conception of clean and dirty, or purity and impurity. Prabhu Bole. Toramore na dishporite. Badra, Vadra, Murka, Vipre, Janive, Kimate. The Lord replied, you don't allow me to study, so how will I know the difference between good and bad, or a fool and a Brahmin? The word Badra means pure and impure. Yeah, Badra. Beta, beta. It's the same thing as like beta, beta. Murka, ami. Na jani he balamandastana sarvacha mara eka advitiya gyana. I am a fool, so I don't know which place is good and which is bad. Therefore, I consider all places equal. So he's taking the mood of an atheist here by saying everything is one. The word advitiya gyana refers to perception of the equality of all places. Eta bali hase varja handira sene datatreya bhava prabhu hoila talkane. After saying this, the Lord smiled from his seat on the rejected pots and accepted the mood of Dattatreya, the topmost knower of absolute knowledge. Let's see if this is probably a long purport. We're going to skip the purport. Maye bole tumi hai vasila mandastane be tumi pavitra va haiva kemanai. Mother Shachi inquired, you've sat in an impure place, so how will you purify yourself? Prabhu bole mata tumi padashishu mati pavitra stane kabu mora nahi stiti. The Lord replied, my dear mother, you are very childish. I am never in an impure place. This is also probably a pretty long purport. Yeah, so we're going to skip this purport. So, the conception of purity and impurity are dealing with this material world, but also there's spiritual purity and spiritual impurity. Yata mora stiti se sarva punya stana gangari sarva tirtha dahinari tana. Wherever I am, that place becomes most sacred. The Ganges and all other tirthas are present at that place. So he's revealing who he actually is at this particular juncture. Amara se kalpanika shuchiva shuchi shastara kidosha ache mane baba bushi. Purity and impurity is only our mental creation. Please consider what fault is there with the Creator. The word amara refers to a conditioned soul who has no conception of advaya gyan, or spiritual oneness. The word shastara refers to the Lord, who is the creator of the universe. Lokaveda mateyare ashuddha haya ami parashileo ki ashuddha taraya. Even if something is considered impure by the Vedas and people in general, can it remain pure after I touch it? Because he's the supreme purifier. Oma pavitra pavitrava sarva vastam gatopiva yaksmaret pundarikaksham sabaya avyantara shuchi Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. That means if someone or something is pure or impure, if that person remembers what? The lotus-eyed Lord Vishnu, then that thing becomes pure, or that person becomes pure. The phrase Lokaveda Mate refers to worldly behavior in accordance with the Vedic Karma Kanda. The word Ami refers to the Lord, who is completely faultless and the reservoir of all good qualities. Esava handite mule nahika dushana tumiyate Vishnu lagi karila randana. In fact, these pots are not at all contaminated because you have used them to cook for Lord Vishnu. The word mule means naturally or factually. The word dushana means false, abomination, or impurity, and the word yate means because, which is true. Anything used for Lord Vishnu is pure. like Vishnu's remnants. Vishnura Randana Stale Kavu Dushtanaya Se Hani Parashayara Stana Shudahaya. The pots used in cooking for Lord Vishnu are never contaminated. Indeed, simply by the touch of his cooking pots, other places become purified. So the word stali refers to the cooking pots. The smartas are greatly concerned with the purity and contamination in relation to their eating. Smarta means very ritualistic people. According to the Vaishnava Smritis, any item becomes pure and acceptable by the touch of the Lord's devotees, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord's remnants, or the Lord's charanamrita. The Lord's this consideration is beyond the conceptions of purity and impurity born from the mundane vision of the smartas, ritualistic brahmanas. Ete ke amara kvasa nahi manastane sabara shudataha mora parasha karane. Therefore, I never reside in a contaminated place. Everything becomes pure by my touch. The word manda means material, worldly, or abominable, which is true. Actually, everything becomes pure by the touch of Krishna. Bhalya bhave sarvatattva kahi prabhu hase tatapi na bujhe heya keha Nana Maya Vashe. The Lord, in the mood of an ordinary child, smiled as he spoke on the absolute truth. Still, no one recognized him due to the influence of the illusory energy. The word Sarvatattva refers to the science of spiritual oneness. Sabe Hasena Shuni Shishura Vachana Snana Sikara Shachi Volena Talkana. Everyone began to laugh after hearing the child speak. Then Mother Shachi said, "Come and take bath." Na ai sena prabhu sekane vasiyache shachibole gyata aya baba jane pache. The Lord, however, did not move from his seat, so Shachi again said, "Come quickly before your father learns about this." Sounds familiar. Wait till your father comes home. Prabhu bole yadimore nadeha padite tabi muni nahiyana kahilun tumate. The Lord replied, "I tell you, if you don't allow me to study, then I will leave this place." Sabe varsena takurera jananira. Shabe bole kene nahi deha paribare. Everyone present then admonished the Lord's mother, "Why don't you allow him to study?" Yatakari keha nija balaka padaya katabhage apane parite shishu chaya. Some people take great efforts to get their child to study. It is most auspicious if a child wants to study. What are you doing? The child has to be forced to study. Even Srila Prabhupada had to be forced to study. His mother had to hire someone to drag him to school every day. Kon chatruhena muri tilava tamare gare murka kariputra rakibharatare. Which enemy has given you the idea to keep your son at home uneducated? Ihate shishura dosha Tilar deka nai sabe bolena papa aisa nimani. This child has no fault at all. Then they said to Nimai, "Come, Nima." The word tilar deka means even a speck or even a little. Aji haite tumi adina pao padite tabi apachaya tumi kara Bala Mate. If you are not allowed to return to your studies from today, then you can continue your destruction. We understand why you're so angry. They're being empathic. So Nimai had a need to study. Obviously, that's a big need when you're young. Nai se Prabhu se kane vasi hase sukati sakala sukha sindhu mate vase. Still, the Lord did not leave his seat. He continued sitting there, smiling as the pious people there floated in an ocean of bliss. The word Sukriti Sakala refers to those fortunate persons who desire to please Lord Vishnu. Apane Dariya Shishu Anila Janane Hase Gorachandra Yena Indranila Mane. Then Mother Sachi personally pulled him off his seat, and Lord Gorachandra smiled like a shining blue sapphire. I guess she might have just grabbed his ear like they usually do in India. The phrase Yena Andranila Mani indicates that the golden body of Nimai was smeared with soot from the impure rejected cooking pots. Therefore, he looked like a brightly shining blue sapphire, or he looked exactly like Sri Nanda Gopal. Otherwise, according to Sridhar Swami's commentary on the word Akrishnam found in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32, Krishna Varma Twisha Krishnam, Krishna's incarnation for Kali Yuga looked as bright as a blue sapphire. Wow, that's a different way of understanding that verse. Wow. Tattva Kalilena Prabhu Dattatreya Bhave Na Bhuji Lakeha Vishnu Mayara Prabhave. The Lord spoke the absolute truth in the mood of Dattatreya, yet no one could recognize him due to the influence of his illusory energy. Snana Karaila Lanaschachi Punyavati Hena Kalya Elena Mishra Mahamati. The pious Shachi then took Nimai to the Ganges, and they both took bath. At that time, the magnanimous Jagannath Mishra arrived there. Mishra Stani Shachi Sabha Kahilena Kata Parite Napaya Putra Mane Babe Vyata. Sachi explained to him what had taken place. She then said, "Our son is morose because he's not allowed to study." Sabe Bolena Mishra, Tumi Ta Udara, Karakataya Putre Nahi Deha Paribara. The others there said, "O Mishra, you are broad-minded. Who has inspired you to stop his studies?" The word Bole means speaking or statement. Ye Karibe Krishna Chandra say Sachahaye, Chinta Padihari Deha. Whatever Krishna desires will certainly take place. Therefore, give up all your anxiety and fearlessly allow him to study. Bhagya se balakachahe apane padite baladine yagnasutra deha bala mate. You are fortunate that your son wants to study. You should arrange to give him a Brahman thread on an auspicious day. The word Yajna Sutra refers to 3 rings of thread that one receives at the sacred thread ceremony. One must accept the sacred thread to mark the beginning of one's study of scriptures. The once-born Shudras are not qualified to study the scriptures. Only twice-born Brahmanas are qualified to accept the sacred thread, teach others how to worship, give in charity, and study the scriptures. Apart from these activities, the Brahmanas are also qualified to worship, teach, and accept charity. Without accepting the sacred thread, a Brahman is not qualified to perform sacrifices. It is stated, Upa Veda Savipe Tvam Nyeshe. I will bring you near the Vedas, or I will teach you the Vedas. The Acharya awards a person a sacred thread for this purpose to give him the qualification for studying the Vedas. Now, let's understand this contextually. He here is referring to the ritualistic presentation of the Vedas, the Smarta conceptions. So the sacred thread in the Smarta conceptions is necessary in order to study the Vedas. But in the Vaishnava conception, and the Vaishnavas are interested in the devotional literatures from the Vedic literatures, in the Vaishnava conception, then the thread is not necessary. It's necessary to approach a spiritual master. Upaveda Samipe Tvam Meshe. That means to study the Vedas, the spiritual master brings one closer to the Vedas or near the Vedas. So this particular purport has to be understood in context, in reference to the rituals that were followed at that time, because traditionally with Vaishnavas, pure Vaishnavas, they would get rid of their Brahman thread because the Brahman thread indicated a particular social status. So it's like very difficult to understand the difference. Okay. So basically, okay, so in ISKCON, we had this whole controversy the GBC had to deal with, that some of the kids were in Gurukul given a sacred thread, not by someone who was going to be or was their spiritual master, but just like by the teacher. And so the whole question was that, later on when they take initiation, should they get the mantra again? Of course, the mantra they got when they got the sacred thread from their teacher was what we call the Brahma Gayatri. That means the first line of the Gayatri. It wasn't all the lines of the Gayatri. So should they get it again? And so it was basically decided that teachers shouldn't be doing that. That actually the Gayatri mantra, according to Prabhupada's standard, was given at the time of Vaishnava Diksha. And so, but still, we have disciples who were born in India and they have to go through all this ritualistic stuff. So, we have to bend a little bit. That's a fact. We have to bend. But in any case, Vaishnava doesn't need a sacred thread in order to be Krishna conscious, in order to understand the purport of the Vedas. What is the purport? Vedaisha saveraham eva vedyo. Vedanta Krid Vedavid eva chaham, as Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 15 chapter, text 15. By all the Vedas, I'm to be known. I'm the actual knower of the Vedas. I'm the compiler of the Vedas, etc. So if you know Krishna, Yasmin Vijate, Sarvam Vigatam Bhavati. One actually knows everything. So this is how Jagannath Mishra replied. All of you are my well-wishers, therefore whatever you say I must accept. Olokika dekya shishura sarvakarma vismaya bhavena keha nahi jane marma. Seeing the child's uncommon activities, everyone was struck with wonder, yet no one could understand him. Maje maje kona jana ati bhagyavane purve kahi rakiyache jagannatha stane. Some most fortunate person had previously given Jagannath Mishra a prediction. What was the prediction? Prakata balaka kabu e balaka nahe yatnakari e balaka e rakika hridaye. This boy is not ordinary. Please carefully keep this child in the core of your heart. Niravadi gupta bhave Prabhu Keli Kare Vaikuntha Nayaka Nija Agane Vihare. Thus the Lord of Vaikuntha constantly enjoyed his confidential pastimes in the courtyard of his house. Pariteyaila Prabhu Papera Adeshe Hailena Mahaprabhu Ananda Visheshe. By the order of his father, the Supreme Lord then joyfully resumed his studies. Shri Krishna Caitanya Nityananda Chanda Jana Vrindavana Dasa Tachu Pada Yuge Gana. Accepting Shri Caitanya Nityananda as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. So thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhasha of Shri Caitanya Bhagavat, Chapter 7, entitled Shri Visvarupa Takes Sannyas. What an ecstatic chapter. This book is just so important. So tomorrow we will continue with Chapter 8, and then we will stop sharing now and allow you all to ask your questions. Chapter 8 deals with the disappearance of Jagannath Mishra. That means he leaves this world. That's what it means. He didn't take sannyas. Who would take sannyasa if you had Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as your son, isn't it? That would not be an impetus for taking sannyasa. He'd stay home forever and ever and ever, probably never go to work. So, all right. So I've just allowed you all to unmute yourselves. So who has a question or comment or problem or complaint? You could type in the chat window. Oh, here's one. Oh, right. That was quick tonight. All right. Wow. Paramahansa, great pure devotee. When we say not even blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord, then how is our free will in the material world overpowering God's own will? Is this free will more in the material world? Can we, whoops, let me just question by question. First of all, God's will is that he gives us free will. So it doesn't overpower God's free will. It's connected to God's free will, our own will, God's will. In other words, God wants us to make our own choices. He doesn't want us to be a robot. If God's will was that we were robots, then that would be miserable. So God wants us to be happy. I mean, we wouldn't be human. We wouldn't be living entities. We wouldn't be his parts and parcels. So God wants us to love him voluntarily. So it's not overpowering God's will. So we are doing things, basically, in one sense you could say we're going against God's will on one level, but on another level we're actually working in accordance with God's will. So that's another point. Can we assume that if there was no free will granted to the material entities, we would have all been in the spiritual world? The free will is the root cause of all. No, nobody. Can we assume there was no free will granted to material entities? No, because we first of all, we're not material entities. And second of all, the nature of ourselves is we're part and parcel of Krishna. So it's not granted or ungranted. Does everyone understand that? It's just, that's our nature. Krishna hasn't granted us free will. We have free will because we're part and parcel of Krishna. We're chips off of the old block. We're like one drop of ocean water compared to the whole ocean. So, and there's no material entities. What's a material entity? Material energy, you could say, but an entity, someone who has consciousness has free will because that's the nature. So the free will isn't the root of the cause of all bad karma. The root of bad karmas are wrong exercise of the free will. We're responsible. So you want to blame free will. That's your problem. I'm not blaming free will, I'm blaming me. Because it's my nature. My nature is to have free will, and I can use it either way. The free will is also the cause of my choice. Utilizing my free will is the cause of my Krishna consciousness, and my choice is the cause of bad karma. So don't blame the free will. Take responsibility. Okay. Good question. Okay. Ajay Krishna said, so as you stated, Krishna is purified everything. His devotees are purified. Then how can a devotee fall and become impure in the materialistic conditions of this world? Very easy. Because he wants it. There's the free will again. You're purified. Just that you take a bath and you're pure, you could roll in the mud. Water is purified. Let's take water as a metaphor, for Krishna. So you take a shower, bath, and you become purified by the association with water. But then you can choose not to, you can choose to roll in the mud, not to take any more baths. That is your free will. Again, the free will. So why does a devotee choose that? You could say curiosity or desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. Let me try it out. I mean, just like a son, sometimes, okay, here's the example Prabhupada gave. The son is a son of parents who are extremamente rich. And because they're rich, he gets everything, but then he decides to run away from home. So even though everything was perfect at home, he decides to run away from home because he has this need for autonomy. But he doesn't understand the autonomy can be expressed while he's at home within limitations. So we are autonomous living entities or have a need for autonomy, but that autonomy is always going to be limited. No matter what situation we're in, that autonomy is going to it's not unlimited like Krishna. Krishna has unlimited autonomy because he is Swarat or independent. Okay, good question. Okay, Krishna Priya Devi Dasi, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Jai Gurudev, accept my obeisances. So my question is like on sort of on a different topic, but it's in relationship to what we just read. And if you can comment on it. What I was reflecting on was that when he didn't want Nimai to go to school, he was giving so many arguments. Well, like you said, no one gets rich by this, and if he's meant to be married, he'll be married. So he was giving all those arguments that way. And then at the same time, like at the end, everyone had to preach to him, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Let him go back to school. So how this covering potency seems to work in the Leela, like on one hand, he was saying whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But when it came into what was going to happen with Nima in the future, he was thinking that he could control it. Can you speak on that?
Well, first of all, it's not a question of whatever is going to happen is going to happen. The point is that if we read the Bhagavad Gita, there's 5 factors of action.
Right.
Super Soul is one. He's the permitter and overseer. But we have something to say about what we're going to do. Otherwise, we'd just be robots. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It was supposed to be that I would give the class tonight. It was supposed to be that I would eat, whatever I ate today. It was supposed to be that, whatever. It's supposed to be that I went to the chiropractor today. That was just written in the annals of the Akashic. You know what the Akashic records are?
Yes.
So if I could access the Akashic records, I would know exactly what's going to happen in the future, what happened in the past. So let me try that after I get this class, so I can figure that out. But it's not like that. I mean, we have choices. And the material energy works in a certain way. You can say if I jumped off the building, if I'm supposed to break my bones, I'll break my bones. And if Krishna doesn't want me to break my bones, I won't break my bones. But that would be crazy. I'm going to be like Prahlad Maharaj, jump off a cliff or be thrown off a cliff. And Krishna's going to catch me. He's not going to catch me. So, so therefore, yes, man proposes, God disposes. So he's the permitter. If something's supposed to happen because of our actions, and Krishna wants it to happen, it will happen. Let's forget about the supposed stuff to happen. If Krishna wants it, and if we're so foolish to neglect our education and not support our families, then Krishna's going to show us, Krishna's going to show us that we're jackasses. Just hippie, old version of hippies. The hippies thought, or actually, it's funny. Like many of us thought when we joined the movement, Krishna's just going to take care of everything, and we just we'll never get sick and everything like that. If we're supposed to get sick, we will. So then later on we discover we got to do things to maintain our health, right? We go to doctors.
Yes.
If I'm supposed to get sick, I'll get sick. So let me eat. Oh, okay, you got me started on this. So let me eat fried food and sugar. If I'm supposed to get diabetes, I'll get diabetes. If I'm supposed to get cancer, I'm going to get cancer. Let me just go to the Sunday feast and eat like a pig for the next 40, 50 years. And if I get sick, diabetes, I was supposed to get diabetes. This is the whole philosophy many devotees have. No. Yes, Prashadam is all spiritual, but even you can fall down. Like Prabhupada said, many stalwarts fell down in the name of Mahaprasadam because they ate too much prasadam. So you can get sick. You get sick by eating, or you get lusty by eating the wrong prasadam. So that's why I presented my video series, Stop Killing the Devotees, because I was very upset that devotees, in the name of, Krishna's just going to take care of everything, uh, basically were killing themselves and are killing themselves even to this day. We should have like a warning, like sometimes with all this heavy fried food and salt and sweets, there should be like a skull and crossbones on things. Okay. Before I get myself in more trouble, I better end class. So thank you very much.
I thought you would like that question. Haribol.
All right. I'm going to get myself in trouble, so I better end.